Hello, it is a pleasure to be in the 5G America's Women Experts in ICT Virtual Forum. I appreciate the invitation from 5G Americas. I am Stella Pachidi, Assistant Professor in Information Systems at Judge Business School, University of Cambridge. I do research in the intersection of work, technology, and organizations, and I'm interested in the impact of AI technology on the future of work. Let me share my slides. So today I will talk about managing work in the era of artificial intelligence. I would like to show you this picture. Take a moment and try to guess what this is. I'm not going to keep you waiting for too long. So this is the first prototype of a digital camera. I wonder if you have any idea where it was developed. The first prototype of a digital camera was created already in the early 1970s by Steve Sasson, an engineer working in the R&D labs of Kodak. And this is the patent that was filed then. The quality of the photographs was very low then. And in order to view the photos, one had to set up a set of complicated connections to television. Despite this low performance, however, this had a massive disruptive potential. Only that was not seen by Kodak itself, which failed to recognize the danger from digital imagery, increased connectivity, and the changes in people's habits. Stasson's Kodak digital camera patent expired in 2007, and Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Kodak is a well-known example of an incumbent that failed. There has been other major disruptions that have taken place in several industries known to all of us: photography, music, video, travel, just to name a few. All with one common denominator: digital technology. The developments in digital technology have been a driving force behind transforming products and services and pushing away incumbents who did not see those changes coming. And here we are today, constantly being bombarded about the impact and potential threat of a new disruption, pervading all sorts of industries and impacting high-skilled professionals whose knowledge and expertise until recently was considered untouchable. This is the era of artificial intelligence. And let's take a step back and do some expectations management. The images that most of us grew up with were those of artificial general intelligence. We assumed that once AI would take off, we would have robots able to carry out all sorts of tasks. We are far from that stage. But where we are right now, and this is very significant with increasing implications and consequences, this stage includes multiple AI tools that are task-specific, yet they are highly effective and come with major implications for work, organizations, and society. And it is important to note that it makes sense that we are at this stage today. It is not just because of the developments of the AI tools. It is the result of the broader developments in computing and network infrastructure that allow for the generation of a plethora of data that are used to train the AI tools. And this has opened the window to incredible capabilities, from automating processes to supporting complex decisions and judgments with insight, engaging with customers and personal assistants, as well as accelerating innovation. For example, robots are used to automate physical activities, and we often see them in carrying out assembly tasks in manufacturing settings or warehouse tasks. We even see robots nowadays entering more complicated workplaces like operating rooms. Expert systems can be used to automate structural digital tasks and decision-making procedures. And we see such tools applied to various domains, such as credit approval, credit card replacement, validating online credentials, and other. AI tools can now be used to automate cognitive tasks. For example, in law firms, a plethora of applications have been developed for automating the due diligence and contract review tasks that were thus far performed by junior lawyers. Natural language processing and large language models nowadays are now extensively used for client engagement and personal assistance. Machine learning algorithms now enable businesses to perform complex judgment and decision-making processes. For example, Uber uses this interactive map to predict demand in rides and direct the riders to areas of anticipated high demand. And what is interesting is that with time, such predictions become increasingly better. The more we get the users engaged, the more data gets produced, so the better become the algorithms at predicting with high accuracy and precision. And thus, the better the product and services offered. So customer satisfaction increases, and as we see more usage, following a virtuous circle. So what does this all mean for the future of work? Well, the facts show that machines can do certain tasks better than humans. They can process data better than humans, faster, with higher accuracy. They can learn to adapt to new data much easier than humans. And of course, with machines becoming more powerful, and given the virtuous circle of AI that I explained, they will surely be getting even better. Consider the capabilities that are already demonstrated by large language models, which even exceed the expectations of their own developers. A few years ago, excuse me, a famous article by two academics from Oxford University predicted which jobs are likely to vanish as a result of automation. This caused a huge debate in my area of research. But thankfully, the debate has moved forward. Let's not forget, however, that new technologies like large language models do exhibit manifestations of human expertise. GPT-4, for example, beat 90% of the humans taking the bar exam, or 99% of the students, on the biology Olympiad. So something is undoubtedly changing, and it is affecting the future of work. At the very least, the nature of work, how the work will be carried out, or how the expertise will be valued. Let me give you 3 examples related to those issues. We are at an era where the newer generations of experts learn how to do their work with the AI. This is a true story from a top accounting firm that we worked with a couple of years ago at the Judge. An audit partner booked a junior for 2 days to perform a task. The junior did it in 10 minutes by writing a script, and the partner had no idea this could be done. This anecdote does not just indicate that the newer generations are more tech-savvy. It shows clearly that the ways of working are changing, and thus how we develop and value expertise, or how we manage this new world of work, will also have to change. So we see that even if undoubtedly AI is not likely to fully replace humans, as my colleague Karim Lakhani would say, humans with AI will most likely replace humans without AI, for certain types of tasks at least. I really like to refer to a recent study performed by my colleagues at Harvard and MIT in collaboration with the Boston Consulting Group. They carried out a large experiment where they compared the productivity and quality of different realistic consulting tasks carried out by consultants who worked either independently or with the help of GPT, and even the ones who used GPT aligned with supplementary prompt engineering overview. The consultants who used the help of GPT outperformed the control group, but that was only for the tasks that focused on creative and writing skills. For the tasks that focused on problem-solving skills, the performance lowered when the consultants used GPT, as they seemed to overtrust the tool, which was apparently not as effective in problem-solving. So we see that we need a more nuanced approach, basically, when we think about integrating AI in the world of work. A more productive way to think about the impact of AI on work is to move from focusing on jobs that are likely to be affected to focusing on tasks that are likely to automate it and tasks that would benefit from augmentation. So in the case of automation, we would be looking at mundane, routine tasks that could be fully performed by a machine without any human involvement. Whereas in the case of augmentation, we get to see humans closely interacting with AI to carry out tasks that require more complex judgments and decision-making, and which require the more nuanced, embodied, or empathetic engagement by humans. Both cases, however, come with their own challenges. For example, in the case of automation, the question arises on how workers are affected once some of the tasks that they used to perform become automated. I have been, for example, doing research with law firms. In the field of law, a lot of the tasks that junior lawyers used to perform, such as document review, can now be fully automated. So the question arises, what tasks does one assign to a junior lawyer now? I have observed an interesting debate where senior partners insist that junior lawyers still need to carry out such tasks manually because this is how they learn the job. Of course, the business model is changing. Client expectations are changing. So law firms will soon have to move away from the billable hour. And the question of how the new generations of experts will be developing their expertise remains. In the case of augmentation, the question arises of how the nature of work will change. How does the work of an expert change once they start making judgments and decisions together with the AI? Is it easy for them to trust the AI insight? How does accountability change? How do they maintain their expert authority? How can they work with the new experts that enter the workplace, such as data scientists, developers, or AI translators? In my research, I see that the introduction of AI unavoidably changes how experts produce and share knowledge in the workplace. And this brings along significant shifts on what kind of knowledge matters and who even has authority to determine that. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The first one relates to the study that I am currently conducting with two colleagues from Tel Aviv University. We are studying how the developments in generative AI are likely to change Wikipedia's regime of knowing. On one hand, Wikipedia is challenged by generative AI because it risks losing its users who are likely to shift to Gen AI tools for searching information. Which is ironic, given that most large language models got trained based on the Wikipedia entries. This entails significant risks for the future of truth with a capital T, given that Gen AI tools cannot overcome their hallucination issues and cannot provide attribution to their sources. It also entails risks for Wikipedia's own knowledge, as volunteers already tried to use Gen AI to edit articles on Wiki. And even sources at Wiki sites, which until recently were considered to be reliable sources of hard, verified facts, often nowadays use Gen AI for their own outputs. So the Wikimedia community is currently struggling to identify how to navigate those changes and ensure that they continue serving the mandate of open and valid knowledge. The second example comes from the implementation of an algorithmic technology in corporate sales that I studied. There, the introduced tool that was supposed to recommend account managers which customer to contact, when, about which offer, was orthogonal to the ways of working of the account managers. The account managers struggled to incorporate the tool in their work and instead resorted to symbolic conformity. They pretended that they used the tool in the eyes of the management to avoid the pressure. However, by pretending to use it, they made the tool appear effective and eventually they became redundant. This is an example of how a digital transformation can go bad if not managed carefully. In this case, the firm lost its source of knowledge, and the people who were deeply connected with their corporate customers without having really proved even the effectiveness of this algorithm. And the world of work is also changing as we increasingly use data and algorithms for managing people, which brings along new challenges. Such tools often black box the design choices, such as relevant data, algorithmic rules, evaluative criteria, that fundamentally affect decision-making procedures. and they lead to increased surveillance, with workers often trying to find ways to resist or game those algorithms. I find fascinating this picture of riders' mobile phones hanging from a tree outside a Whole Foods store to indicate that there's ways to try and game the system, the algorithmic system. So when we think about managing people with data and AI, we need to carefully think how we get that implemented. In a study that we conducted together with colleagues at an elite sports organization, we found interesting ways in which data can be used to manage people's performance. In our case, we looked at biometric data, which represented people's physical performance, such as their sleep patterns or physical performance in training. We saw that this data could lead to an effective way of managing performance. But contrary to our anticipation that this would be associated with efficiencies, where a coach could manage more athletes because they had more access to data, we saw that it actually required coaches to work very closely with their athletes. The data brought very meaningful insights only when the coaches understood the humans and their stories behind their data. What was the reason behind the low performance score in their training, for example? But it also brought to the fore new moral dilemmas. For example, if the data predicts that the player has high risk of injury, it is not straightforward for the coach how they should act upon this information. Imagine using a tool that gives you predictions on whether your employees are likely to have a burnout or something similar. How do you deal with this piece of information when you need that employee to complete that urgent project, for example? To conclude, the developments in AI have been fundamentally changing the workplace. They are rewiring how we produce knowledge and how we develop expertise. Managing such a digital transformation is not easy. It requires management to carefully plan how to implement AI alongside their human experts. They will need to show how the technology can support employees, and where automation may take place, they have to provide opportunities for growth via reskilling or upskilling. They will need to identify how to develop new skills and capabilities in their existing workforce, as well as how to integrate new digital talent in their firms. A lot of times, data scientists and AI experts leave traditional organizations rather early because they get frustrated with getting stuck in proofs of concept and cannot integrate in the traditional culture of the incumbents. It is also of paramount importance to enable cross-boundary collaboration between the domain experts, the business practitioners, and the data scientists. Those people often report that they feel as if they speak an entirely different language. In order for a digital transformation to be successful, we need to ensure that those different experts establish common ground and figure out how to work together. And this will require getting people out of their silos and working in cross-functional teams with common goals together. Finally, leaders need to be actively engaged. You cannot manage a digital transformation from the ivory tower. They need to also learn and understand how the technology is affecting their organization. Leaders need to inspire others and develop a culture of experimentation where people feel safe to try out how to best integrate the technologies, and acknowledge that it will take time and effort to get it right, and that is okay. Ultimately, digital transformation is about people transformation. And I think this is a good point to close and end my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention today.